Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to have a motion to resume public session. Coffee and Bailey. Sorry. Any questions? All in favor? And it's unanimous. And if I can ask everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we have special recognition. Dr. Patrick Irving will introduce the GC track coach and sectional champ.
It works. Superintendent Daly, Board of Education, thank you for your time tonight. I'm excited to introduce Coach Tyndall in just a moment and some of our sectional champs from the indoor track team. But very briefly, I just wanted to say thank you for your support in all of our athletic programs. I'm excited to announce that we will run all of our athletic programs this year, including our modified, which we're very excited about. And to speak briefly about indoor track, we typically participate all of our events at our local colleges, which did not want any of the high school programs coming onto their campus. So we got incredibly creative this year with local districts hosting single event meets like pole vault here, high jump at another school, different things that we could do within our facility. So I really appreciate our student athletes, their families, the other athletic administrators, and then school districts for supporting this and getting the season off the ground. So I would welcome Coach Tyndall up, and I believe Brendan just walked in, so if he could come up as well. Kyra Pellegrino's here, and I believe Kiki Hollis is here too. Is Calvin here? No. Okay, you guys can come on up. And Coach is just going to speak briefly about our 4 sectional champs and their given event.
Good evening. Thank you to the board and Dr. Irving for inviting us. I'm Coach Tyndall. It's my first full year coaching here at Gates Chili. I'm very excited to be here. And I'm introducing our 3 great athletes here. Calvin Finger could not make it tonight. He is our high jump champion and one of the top jumpers in New York State. He jumped 6'4" and was a Class A champion this year. And his plans next year, he has a scholarship offer to the University of Buffalo. So we're excited about that. And here we have Kiara Hollis. And she won her first sectional title in the 55-meter hurdles, running in 8.8 seconds. And that was on a turf track. If it was on a road track, it would have been 8.2, 8.3. And she was very nervous going into the race. Not only did she have her teammate, Tasha Robertson, to worry about, but a new 10th grader at Webster to worry about. So she was very excited when she won her race. And she worked very hard this year for that title. Here we have Kyra Pellegrino, and she was our race walk champion. And this is her first sectional championship as well. And she also took 2nd place in the 3,000-meter run. So she's a great distance runner. She's been running cross country. And she just came back from a race this past weekend where she won, was it a 5K? A 5 mile. And she just won that one this past weekend. So congratulations, Kyra. And Brandon Holm. Oh, by the way, Kyra is a 10th grader. So you'll be hearing a lot more about her in the next couple of years. And come back to Kiara. She's been accepted to the University of Buffalo already, and she's waiting on her scholarship offer to come through at Binghamton University. Next up, we have Brandon Holm, and he is our sectional champion in the pole vault. And he's another top jumper in New York State. He won pole vault last year as well for sectionals. And his goal is to go to U of R this year and possibly pursue track and field as well. He jumped, what, this year, 14 even? 13 this year, 14 last year. And another positive note to end, I just found out Sunday night that these 3 athletes, as well as Calvin, all got named to the top 25 all grade Rochester season. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Tyndall. As he said, he's relatively new to the district. He's also a special education teacher here in Gage Charlie, so we're awfully proud of the work he's done and his staff. I'd also just tell everyone who was just up here, you do not have to stay here for the remainder of this evening. You are welcome to. But if you'd like, we can gather the family and friends that came. We can get a photo downstairs too. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations again. So next, we're going to move on to the GC Pride Awards.
First up to present is Principal Hens, and again, after it's done, if you could have everybody that earns an award go downstairs so we can get a group picture together, please.
You're probably loud enough anyway.
It's a rough crowd. Good evening, Mr. Daly, members of the Board of Education. I'm pleased to be the first tonight principal to recognize 2 outstanding and absolutely delightful members of the Paul Road School community to be the recipient of the GC Pride Awards. And in no particular order, this young lady joined Paul Road about 6 years ago, working as a member of our support staff. She's been in and out of all the classrooms, helped out in the office for a short-term, very short-term secretary assignment. But her time in Gage Chili, it goes back a little further than her beginning at Paul Road in 2015. As a matter of fact, it was probably 1974. Oh, she's mortified. When this little girl stepped up to the front of the Florence Brasser School as a kindergartner, made her way through Gage Chili to graduate, and then she decided to raise her family here. And her girls made their way through Florence Brasser. Some, believe it or not, as young as she is, have already graduated. And so she's not only a proud member of the Gage Chili faculty, but she's a super proud member, and so are her parents. I mean, they do all sorts of things for our schools. Chris Reed. Why don't you come on up here so I can embarrass you just a bit more, please? She's mortified. And so one of the things when Mr. DeBreu and I decided in 2 separate rooms, when we created 2 separate lists, who he felt was the ideal GC Pride recipient, and I did the same thing, Chris appeared at the very top of both of our lists. And so one of the things that I think Chris brings to our school is her talent, her compassion, all those Spartan Way values. And one of her little friends who just refuses to leave her side, Chris is a kindergarten aide in 2 different kindergarten classes, and she's spread across 4 different cohorts of 5-year-olds. How she manages that on a daily basis, I'm not quite sure. But this one little friend we'll call Bobby has really attached himself to Chris physically and just refuses to leave her side. He is full of love, and I think one of the things that when we were going for a walk and I got invited because we like to hold hands because he just needs to hold on to somebody, he looked at Mrs. Reed yesterday, and this is her sense of humor and compassion. He said, you know what? You need a haircut. From the mouth of a 5-year-old. And Chris continues her laughter every single day. She celebrates student successes. She supports students and teachers alike. Chris is one of the first people there in the morning filling the children's water bottles and one of the last people to leave every single night before Clorox wiping every single surface, knowing that the custodians will do it. She does it first in both classrooms every single day to keep our kids set up for learning and safe. So Chris, on behalf of the faculty and staff of Paul Road Elementary School, I'm so proud to give you the GC Pride Award. Thank you. The next recipient is a person who started his career in Gage Chili alongside this principal and also Mr. Holm, as a matter of fact, back in the early 2000s, and Dr. Buckshaw. And I remember there were 19 people hired that year. And looking across the row of all the new hires that year, one stood
head and shoulders above the rest, literally. If you know John Soderman, come on up, John Soderman. John stands pretty tall. And my first impression of Gates Chili, I had several, but was, wow, they hire some burly-looking security guards here in GC. He was a lot scarier then, but don't let the look fool you. John has a heart of gold, and in seeing John at events over the years, at graduations, at parades, homecoming, and seeing him in all the different buildings, I've really had the opportunity to work with John closely at Paul Road these past 6 years. John has been the morning face of Paul Road. He is out there, and if you know Paul Road, it's in the middle of a field. There is no wind barrier, and John is out there every single morning, rain, shine, ice, snow, you name it, he's there. And he's greeting every student by name, and he's greeting every parent who's dropping off their child by name, fist bumps, high fives, hugs, hip checks, it's all happening. And he's doing it with a smile on his face. One of my proudest memories of John is about 4 years ago, we had universal pre-K in our school. John planned, organized, and lifted a very efficient preschool arrival plan. And it was safe. Parents bought into it. It was wonderful. One particular day, the temperature was -2. The wind chill was -16. -16, sorry, we couldn't close. John Soderman was out there. And I remember when John came in with about 35 4-year-olds walking behind him, not unlike baby ducks following the mother. John's glasses were not just fogged over, they were frozen over. And it was the most endearing thing I'd ever seen, because he would then fist bump and wave, have a great day of school to every single one of those 4-year-olds. And I've never forgot that memory. I should also tell you, especially to his family, he then disappeared in the faculty room and ate 2 donuts. I was not allowed to tell you that, but he assured me that his insulin level was good. He checked it that morning. So John, I want to thank you on behalf of Paul Road School. I have seen you interact with children at the middle school, the high school, and in all elementary schools. I've seen you working with the staff, and I've seen you welcome new Spartans as they're hired in Gates Chili. And I've seen your interactions firsthand. And I can't tell you how proud I am to have you as part of the Paul Road staff, for parents and kids to see your face every single morning. It gives me, as a building principal, tremendous pride and a feeling of safety and security, knowing that people like John are out there greeting our children every single day, rain or shine. John, it gives me great pride. It gives me great pride to say thank you for working together these past 15 plus years. I couldn't think, and Mr. D, same thing. Your name was right up there separately on the top of our list. We appreciate everything you do to help our school run smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I just want to introduce my family. Last 19 months ago, we got a card from all the administrators at the Ed building because my daughter was able to adopt. That's my granddaughter. Her name is Sophie, and she's Grandpa's girl. So I have my wife Sandy, my daughter Steph, and my son-in-law Matt. So thank you again.
Thank you, John.
Cavaliers, Dr. Buckshot.
Superintendent Daly, members of the board, it's my honor to be here tonight to recognize the hard work and dedication of members of the middle school improvement team. This year, the school improvement team has taken part in a book study aligned with the district goal related to culturally responsive education and equity. Each month, students, parents, and staff have met to discuss topics related to race and U.S. history based on the reading of the books stamped. Individual experiences have been shared and important conversations have been had related to current and historical events to deepen the entire group's understanding of race and equity, not only in our schools, but our local community and nation. The middle school thanks the following students and parents for their commitment to this work. So as I announce your name, I think everyone's here. You guys can just come on up and I will have your certificates and we'll kind of gather over here. It's a large group. First we have 7th grader Cassandra Carpenter.
Eighth grader Preston Dixon and his father, Mr. Andre Dixon. Mrs. Emma Herwig, who has been on the school improvement team for the entire time her students have gone through the middle school. So extra special thanks to her for her time that she's put in over the years with our group. Thank you. Eighth grader Jaden Schmettkopper. One of our parents, Miss Miranda Thornton Lawhorn. And eighth grader Caleb Wall and his father, Mr. Scotty Wall. And if Caleb had his mask off, you would recognize him from our equity video that had come out last month. He was one of our students that was part of that work as well. Again, we thank this group for their continued commitment to this work because we have a few more meetings this school year, and we plan on transitioning the school improvement team to our school-based equity team to continue our work next school year as well. So thank you to everyone, and thank you again for the opportunity to share.
And I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Tavaleris. He has done a phenomenal job helping to facilitate the school improvement team. He chose this book and knew that it was going to be an important one and was passionate about having the discussions as hard as they have been. I really appreciated all of the time and effort that he has put into it. It is something that is really passionate to both of us and something that he really cares about and is looking forward to continuing next year. But I wanted to recognize you.
Superintendent Daly, Board of Education, thank you for this opportunity. The first person that I would like to recognize is my assistant, Lindsay DiMartino. I'm going to ask you to come on up. So Lindsay's only been with me for just about a year, but it feels like she's been with me for years. She is a Gates Childlight graduate, so she has been in the district for quite a while. But Lindsay was lucky enough to be one of our first virtual interviews. And of course, I had technical difficulties as I was trying to do the interview. She remained very calm and really helped me through the interview, gave me some suggestions on how to handle it and what to do with my computer. And then, of course, once we hired her, she came into the office and found out that I'd been without an assistant for 3 or 4 months, and I got to be her trainer. And so I didn't quite know everything about how the office ran and everything that my past assistant had done. But she stayed calm and collected, and that's the way she has worked the entire year that she has been with me. She jumped right in. She went ahead and learned all of the systems and the tasks that needed to be completed, and even worked on creating efficiencies and making things more streamlined than what they've ever been before. So she's also learned how to interact with all of the different people across the district, because in my position in our office, we have to interact with people in every single building. So she has helped us with that and works very well with everyone. One of the big things that I really want to recognize her for tonight is she is also a huge support to Katie Kuhn, our coordinator of educational programs, and Erin Eugene, who is our coordinator of early childhood. And this year, they have stepped up to help us with the huge population of elementary remote students. As you know, we have 22 sections of elementary remote students, close to 500 students that Lindsay has helped us with managing the placements of all of those students, keeping track of the requests to change from remote to hybrid, that come in every single week. We have multiple requests. She works with the principals, the assistant principals on making those changes. She works on ordering special materials for our remote teachers and our remote students. She has helped to organize our remote pickup days. If it wasn't for Lindsay, I'm not really sure that those remote days would even be happening or go as smoothly as they do. She, every month, just about every other week probably, is organizing over 400 bags, labeling them with names and bus numbers, helping to collect materials from teachers, placing materials into bags, organizing them all in the boardroom in arrangements for classes, also that our parents can come and pick up those materials. If it wasn't for Lindsay, those days really wouldn't happen. And it doesn't end when that day ends of pickup, because there's always close to 100 bags left. And so she works on organizing those bags, connecting with transportation to make sure that we can get those bags delivered. And there's always the parents that call and are asking for special arrangements to pick up those materials. And so again, she's working with that. Without Lindsay's help and support this year, we would not be able to lift that in the way that we have. So I'm very pleased to have you with us. I'm so thankful. And I'm going to miss you next year. Troy's going to be very lucky to have such a great assistant. And so I want to recognize you and thank you for all your hard work with the GC Pride Award. Thank you. I think you want her over here downstairs. Gonna do downstairs. Okay. So I have one other person that I'd like to recognize tonight, and that would be Paula Lamanna. And you've seen Paula before as our volunteer coordinator. And Paula is also retiring this year after many years working in the district. She's a person who works behind the scene and really doesn't draw attention to herself. She recruits and trains our volunteers. She schedules them to assist at building events, organizes and assists students with locating service learning projects, and has facilitated our Relay for Life event for many years, which was a huge undertaking and has provided many students with hours of service learning. Paul, why don't you come on up? About 8 years ago, she and some other staff, a couple of other staff people, helped us to organize this first Relay for Life event, which was really a district-changing event, I believe. The very first year that we held the Relay for Life in the district, I think the goal was to raise maybe $20,000, and the students and staff raised over $60,000. And that just kicked it off, and over the years, the event grew and to include many dozens of students and staff all across the district helping to run this main event. Through Paula's leadership and mentoring of students, that district Relay for Life program received a national recognition from the Cancer Society for being the only high school that has an event that was run all by students. And that event wouldn't have happened without Paula's coaching and mentoring to, oh my gosh, you've probably worked with over 100 students or more now. I reached out to a couple of teachers who she works closely with in the district and asked if they had anything they wanted me to share, and I'm going to read from them what they sent to me. So Stacy Burnett is one of our high school teachers, social studies high school teachers. Mrs. Lamanna has been an invaluable resource for Gates Child seniors for our civics course, Dynamics of Citizenship. Over the years, Mrs. Lamanna has come into DOC classes to offer opportunities and advice on how to meet the volunteer requirements for the course. As part of our DOC course, all of our students are required to do service learning hours. She's developed a list of available opportunities for students and has added and adjusted that list over time as organizations have changed. She's also provided students guidance on how to set up the volunteer opportunities, not by doing it for them, but by providing the contact information and advice on how to handle the contacts. These life lessons have been vital for Gates Chi seniors as they transition into the real world. I also have a statement from Mrs. Lisa Dorfy from the middle school. Paula Lamana is a pillar of our Gates Chi community. It is Paula's smile, willingness to help, and fabulous scarf collection that greets everyone she meets. She looks for opportunities to support the community and share the Spartan way with those she works with. Her passion and creativity have led our district to many successful Relay for Life events. Paula leads these events truly motivated and brought out just out of our, whoops, let me start again. Paula led these events truly motivated and brought not just our schools together, but also the entire Gates community. Her actions and innovation she used to thoughtfully plan these events inspired multiple teams to form at the middle school. And from Janelle Burness, another high school teacher, Paula has been an important contact person and connection to our community, particularly with volunteer opportunities for our students. She provides community options which help students fulfill volunteer requirements for classes like peer leadership, DOC, and National Honor Society. This year, Paula connected the peer leaders with residents from the Arc of Monroe for a pen pal project. And throughout the year, the duos, the students and members at Arc of Monroe have been communicating all year. Additionally, Paula helps identify students for the Presidential Award for Service Learning. This national award recognizes student volunteer efforts and has helped students receive college scholarships. Each year, she takes on the task of identifying qualifying students and securing the award to be presented at awards night. She has a huge heart and always leads with kindness. She is a remarkable role model for our students and our staff. She's done outstanding things as she's been in the district, and you're going to be very missed. Thank you for all you've done, and want to show our appreciation through a GC Pride Award. Thank you.
Mr. Hempel.
Good evening, Superintendent Daly and Board. Happy tonight that not only do I get to present the Gates Chi Award, later I'll be able to present later our board presentation for transportation. Tonight, I want to recognize Diana, and it's actually one of our drivers. She's been here since 1990. She's not only been transporting our students from, I would have to list every school that she's done, but there's she's also been one of our main trainers. She's trained countless drivers, countless students she's just recently started doing a 30-hour basic course, which is required. The district's never offered that, something that drivers are required every year to do in the first year. We've always contracted with BOCEs to do that. Diana has taken the opportunity with COVID, her and one of our other trainers, and they started doing it in-house, which is really nice. Unfortunately, she'll be retiring. The nice thing is she did bring her husband with her, which he is a driver here. She trained him, so that's how they met. So it's a commitment to recruiting. She definitely knows how to bring in somebody. So that's really good. But with all joking aside, it's very sad that she'll be retiring. She'll be missed. She's the rock in the department for a lot of drivers that go to her. She's a great mentor when they don't want to go to an office staff member. They just feel like they want to talk to a driver. They always can go to her. he's always there for them. So, and I also have another one. I'll have to admit, in 16 years, it's the first time I had a little Feb dignity. He doesn't know that he's getting one tonight. I told him he's here for our presentation to help with the buses, which he would be a great help, but that's not what I asked him to do this night. So in 16 years, it was the first time I had to lie to him. I started here as my first job as a head mechanic in the supervisor role, and Andy just welcomed me right in. Helped me with the Gate Charlotte Way. Andy's always looking to make changes. I'd be here all night, but just for example, like Peter Hines came up to me and goes, Andy was the first one to welcome me when I started here. And that's just Andy. He started here in 82, so it sounds like your recipient road buses that he worked on. He's been keeping our kids safe all the way since 1982 here in the district. And I hope he doesn't plan on retiring like Diana, especially after this, because he's a lot like me. He does a great job, but doesn't want the recognition. So hopefully he's not too embarrassed by this, but he's well deserved and overdue.
Good evening, Superintendent Daly and board members. Thanks for having us. The first person I'd like to recognize from the facilities department is Don Vocal. Don, if you would come up, you get to stand here and sweat with me. Don is the head custodian at Florence Brasser Elementary School. Don is very proactive and extremely reliable. He is well respected by the staff and cares about making Florence Brasser a great place for the students. And he's done that really well this year with all the need for sanitizing and disinfecting. Since taking over as the head custodian at Brasser, his leadership has resulted in the cleanliness of the building improving as well as the appearance of the floors throughout the building. Don is a tremendous asset to the district, and we are very grateful for all he does every day to make Florence Brasser an awesome place to work and learn. So Don, thank you for all you do, and just a small token, but we do really, really appreciate you. I'd like Tom and Trevor, if you two would come up together, please. I'd like to recognize Tom and Trevor together because they took on the responsibility of Snow Watch this winter, just the two of them. Normally, we have more than two that share that responsibility, but I can't tell you guys enough how difficult a job that is. They're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're up at midnight, they're up at 3, they're sweating, they're agonizing, they're like, oh man, superintendent's gonna call me because I didn't do this or I didn't do that. No matter what you do, they're second guessing themselves all night long, and so they don't get any sleep. And each of them, because they had CDLs and because they were the only two experienced groundsmen this year, they took it on and never complained. And all they care about is the safety of our staff, students, and our community. And so for that, they just do an awesome job. And I can't thank them enough. I don't lose much sleep at night. I lose a little now and then, but thanks to them, I don't lose nearly as much as they do. So Tom and Trevor, thank you so much for that. Just a small token, but GC Pride Award, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, and congratulations again to everyone. So on to agenda change.
Yes, we have personnel action.
So next we have board president comments, and in the absence of President Patinsky and the vice president comments, I'd just like to say that our community is in a really odd time right now. And community as a whole, not just Gates, but Gates, Monroe County, Rochester, New York, Chicago, So we're in an odd place right now, and I think this is the opportune time for those of us in education to come together and to work together, and I hope that across the US, people realize where we are. They realize that this is the perfect opportunity to teach our kids, to look at what's right, to look at more imperative, doing what's right, and to kind of take that on. So hopefully, just as we do here in Gates, we value that. I'm hoping that that spreads throughout the education system. And with that, we're going to move to the voice of interest.
I had the pleasure of the boys volleyball game so far since the they're always a joy to watch. The teamwork, great sportsmanship, and nice to see sportsmanship. First time I've been able to get out for the
Anyone else have any other points of interest? I'll share that the New York State Caucus of Black School Organization had this past weekend, which was very interesting. We haven't been together since the last NISBA, as we know, due to everything that's going on. And they talked about a lot of making change and coming together as one unit as far as education goes. So that was very interesting and enlightening meeting. So next we'll move on to report.
I won't repeat everything I just said. But we will move on to report of meetings. All right. So next we'll move to visitor comments, and we do have one. And I will read our statement. So the Gates Carlisle Central School District Board of Education invites public comment at this time. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. We ask that individuals state their name and address prior to comments and utilize the podium microphone to address the board. Although the board will not respond directly to individual comments at this time, items brought to the attention of the board may be taken under consideration for future response or action. In order to comply with laws related to confidentiality, we ask that issues related to specific school district personnel or students be brought to the attention of the superintendent of schools privately. The board reserves the right to terminate a speaker's comments if his or her comments are in excess of 3 minutes, are repetitive, or are not appropriate for discussion in an open forum. You got 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to participate tonight. My name is Tina Curry. I'm a Gates Child parent leader and advocate for struggling learners, including those who are dyslexic. March is National Reading Month, and I'm going to talk about what it is like to be the parent of a struggling reader. I am privileged to have not been a struggling reader. I am also the parent of a seemingly natural reader and a struggling reader. The contrast is day and night. Being a parent of a struggling reader is very challenging and inevitably affects our entire family. 2 years ago, we found out that our struggling learner has language-based learning disorders and felt a huge relief. It wasn't his fault and our fault. What's more, there was hope and help available in our community from organizations like the Rochester Children's Dyslexia Center and Starbridge. We identified the needs and got to work remediating. We have seen great gains, less emotional breakdowns at home, and much more confidence. I want every struggling reader to have similar results. My family will be okay thanks to the help and expertise of knowledgeable teachers, providers, professionals, tutors, and other parents of struggling readers. I am deeply concerned for the social and emotional well-being of struggling learners and their families who might not know what my family and I have learned. There is hope and help. I am a proponent of what is known as the science of reading, which is a vast interdisciplinary body of research spanning several decades. I invite you to learn more. I ask you to support professional development in the science of reading as it would benefit all learners, including those who struggle and others still who are dyslexic. In recognition of National Reading Month, if you weren't a struggling reader or the parent of one, please consider talking to someone who was or is about their experiences. If you're a struggling reader, consider sharing your experience with others. In closing, highly knowledgeable teachers and parents who partner together are our best chance for raising proficient readers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So now we have special guest, District Superintendent Joanna Antonese.
Gates Valley Board, thank you for having us back today, even though we're a couple of months behind due to the pandemic. And I have with me Board President Stanislava, who represents you very well at the BOCES table for Gates Child Life. So I thought we're doing this a little differently this year in terms of we want to make sure boards understand how we are getting through the pandemic. What are we doing for your students and your families? So just a couple things that I'll go over with you. First of all, Gates Child Life hosts 4 classes for us, and we want to thank you. Since the beginning of the school year, we've been in 4 days and one day remote. We have 2 611s at behavior management classes at the high school. We have a middle 611 medically fragile class at the middle school, and we have an integrated preschool at Armstrong. So thank you so very much for welcoming our children and our families. The Office of Instruction and Professional Development has been working with the Child Life staff on the APPR performance review trainings for lead evaluators of teachers and principals, and also in ELA instructional coaching. And I have to say, we have a very great collaboration and cooperation with the staff, so we thank you for that, very strong. In terms of career and technical education, your kids have been flying high. So right now, National Honor Society, Emily Ikas was enrolled for nurse assisting, Michael Frost for electrical, Paige Hamilton for cosmetology, Madison Johnson for nurse assisting, Zachary Rush for carpentry, and Alexandra Cervati for nurse assisting. In addition, Paige Hamilton completed 125 shadow hours this year, plus 2 career exploration interim experiences in salons. So while there are places, as long as they're following the PPE requirements, both for state and local, that we are able to place the students and the families and the students if they are interested in that, and we're following that very strictly. So it's been great because kids don't lose their work-based learning hours, and we're continuing to build on that. In addition, Lucas Hand, welding student, began a paid co-op with the PKG equipment last week. And so, again, students are still going on co-op experiences. And Zachary Rush is a carpentry student, and he's been on paid co-op experience with JDR Renovations since the first of the year, loving his job, and will definitely have opportunities after that. The following Gates Child Life students won classroom competitions in Skills USA, which was handled remotely. So Lucas Hands for welding, Alexandra Cervati for Quiz Bowl, Madison Johnson for Health Knowledge Bowl, and Morgan Vogler for food service. And then finally, we had 4 students, Gates Child Life students, that hosted live Zoom sessions to provide classroom tours for 10th grade students. We couldn't go without the classroom tours. We couldn't bring them in physically, so how are we going to impart this information that we do every year and get our kids in? And so Corey May Spirito, junior in criminal justice, assisted us. Molly Hung, junior in nurse assisting and associated health careers. Natalie Burdette, senior in child and family development. And Paige Hamilton, a senior in cosmetology. So we thank your students have been a great help to us this year. In terms of MARS, our assessment and reporting system, so we started the school year a lot remote, and a lot was remote, whether we're in person or on your remote days. So what were we to do? So iReady is a big system that Gates Child Life uses, and our MARS staff worked very closely with your staff for several months in getting that up and running, focusing on online instruction and how to monitor progress in particular, and how in reading and interpreting the reports. So, well, again, some real feats that your teachers and our staff were meeting together. In January, Reimagined Assessments PE course was also offered, and our staff and your Gates Child Life staff worked together on that. CWD, we just want to remind the board that for students 16 to 24 years of age that do decide that school's not for them anymore, we have opportunities for them to go to our Center for Workforce Development program, which actually is located right in Gates off of Buffalo Road, and helping them with career opportunities. And then finally, BOCES for Science. We have had developed all online and alternative setting resources. Some so where kids were able, that were on in home for remote learning, we were able to have those instructional materials go to kids' homes. So we've consolidated that quite a bit. And right now, the BOCES for Science is now going to align with all of the New York State standards. So finally, before I let Dennis talk a little bit about the annual meeting, this year has been like none other. I don't think I need to tell the board that. I want to thank, first of all, Superintendent Daly for the input and the active participation he's done with our superintendents, especially on the west side. We have a very close group and a group that's connected. We all understand that we have each other's differences, but we respect our differences, and we're working together to get through this. It has been, I will tell you, a real feat to try to keep up with New York State DOH, our local DOH, and some of the CDC things. So I hope the board will just continue to be reminded that we're trying to work through those pieces as best as possible. But we have worked very closely with our local DOH to try to have as much information out there as possible for our communities in working with that. And that's, I have to, a lot of that is owed to the superintendents. And Chris, I thank you for your help with that.
Well, Joanna doesn't give herself enough credit.
I'm not done, excuse me.
You know, I mean, Joanne's leadership, along with Dan White, has really made Monroe County stand out in New York State. Working together, trying to figure this puzzle out as it constantly changes. We couldn't do it without Joanne's leadership. She's just been the rock for us when everyone's about ready to snap. She's there with the kind of motherly touch that keeps us back, and then she also will smack you in the back of the head when you need it to get back to work. So,
The only problem is that it's Lent, and I gave up swearing for Lent, so it's been a little more difficult.
You couldn't have done it without me.
So one of the exciting things that I just want to bring to your attention is in May, and I'll make sure Chris has the information, that one of your teachers, Jim Marco, and your students, Deanna Perina, are going to be on for the education website with Dr. Mendoza and another superintendent. And we're going to be talking about, actually not Dr. Mendoza, but junior achievement on partnerships. So Dr. Mendoza, we just taped that yesterday, so I was confusing kids. But you're going to be on with the on partnerships. So I'm looking forward to. I meet her in 2 weeks, and we're going to plan for the after education, and then I'll let the board know when that's going to air. And so we're really excited about bringing more and more student voice out there. And so just to let you, one of your Gates Charlie students is going to be highlighted. Dennis, you want to talk about the EUB?
Well, that's going to be different as well. It's going to be recorded, and the budget presentation is going to be recorded as well, so everybody can see it. But unfortunately, we're going to miss the students, like we love to have them like that, but not this year. So I guess, other than, I forgot the date.
April 14th.
Yeah, April 14th. And then we'll just have to, hopefully next year we can do it again and enjoy the students as well. So, and again, I want to thank, I'm proud to represent Gates Child at BOCES, and a lot of these kids show just what BOCES provides for them and the rest of the districts as well. So thank you very much.
The April 14th, we will send to all the board clerks. If you want to join us that night remotely, Steve will be presenting it live, his budget, just out of our board, the PD center, actually, where we do social distance. So if board members want to join, we'll give you the information for you to join that night. And then if you can't join that night, again, it'll just be a brief annual meeting, and then a recording will be sent to you. Any questions that you have on the budgets, the information has been sent already, just let Chris know, and we will address any questions that you may have on the BOCES administrative budget, just to make sure you're understanding it all. And then finally, Dennis and I just want to remind you that particularly this year, as in any other year, if you do have questions, if you need assistance, if you need us in any way, please let us know. And your points of pride in the awards that you give your staff and your students, I have to tell you, it takes everyone. It takes the superintendent, it takes teachers, it takes the bus drivers, it takes mechanics, it takes the cleaners. It's everybody in the district. So it's really nice to see you recognizing everybody. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have everybody joining us. So thank you so much, and thank you for your continued support. And any questions tonight on anybody, from anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have the capital project report.
Good evening, Superintendent Daly, Board of Education, capital project update. First, I want to say it's great to be back in person. You all know how well I did with the technology part of most of that. 1.5, high school auditorium. If you're down through work completed in February, when we say back to stage, we mean the hallway that connects to your old school there, and we made the green room, which is your changing room. All that heating piping is installed, actually the permanent heating unit back in there is installed. Chilled water piping throughout your entire building for the air conditioning is installed. All the roofs are now dried in. All the roof drains are operational. Exterior brick around that green room, and then on the old end where the BOCES wing was, is been completed, and the masons have started brick in other areas. Stair tower in the back, all the stair treads and risers are in, and that's accessible all the way to the catwalks. What we're going to do in March is the masons will continue laying block and brick. We've got 12 masons out there now laying brick. You're going to see it on the back part first, and they're going to work themselves right around to the front. Ductwork is ongoing. You probably will see that on there for the next 4 or 5 months. There's just a lot of ductwork going on in there. Roofers are on site. Metal stud framing is underway in the lobby area. They've started there with all your ceiling framing. Your seating area, the main seating area, the grading has started with that. They're actually going to start foundations on Friday in there. Start pouring concrete. In a month, we should have all that concrete done. The risers will be done, and that'll all be poured in there. Demolition of the old auditorium has begun, and we found several artifacts, which I don't want to bring up right at the moment, but a lot of hidden treasures in the walls in there from the old contractors, let's just say, that built that. The next, thank you, Jim. The top picture there is your catwalks. The lower picture is the framing down in the main auditorium. And then the last 2 pictures for the high school is the crane hoisting up roofing material, actually it's on the way down, and then the exterior walls being framed in. I did give a tour to some people that are in here tonight of the auditorium, and I think they'll say that when you stand up on the catwalks and look down, it's
really up there.
It's large, yes. Any questions for the high school auditorium? The 1.6, Florence Brasser and, Walt Disney and Neil Armstrong. Terrazzo flooring at Disney has been completed. Moisture mitigation at Walt Disney and Neil Armstrong is complete. So underneath wherever your classroom floors are, where there's VCT flooring going down, we've moisture mitigated all that because we found in your old building, nobody put plastic underneath the concrete. There's no moisture vapor barrier in that building at all. So we had to do that to make sure the new adhesives for the ceramic tile or the tile would stick to the concrete. Walt Disney, all your ceilings are in, your lights are in. At Neil Armstrong, they're working on punch list above ceilings and they're installing ceilings. Projected for March. Remaining casework at Walt Disney will be done. Interior doors at Disney, they are officially hung as of today. Classroom flooring will be done by Friday at Disney. Neil Armstrong ceilings will be completed in March. Will be completed in March. Terrazzo flooring is now completed at Neil Armstrong. It wasn't when this was done, but they finished it yesterday. And the casework at Neil Armstrong is underway. We are going to turn Walt Disney over. And when I say this part's completed, this is the main new wing of both these buildings. You did have money enough in this project, and we took the alternates to do alternate work in the areas, but we have to move the students and staff into their new areas to go into the occupied areas. So you still will have board reports on this project. When I say complete, we're just completing that wing. And we're turning that wing over Monday to George's staff for start waxing the floors. And over break, they're going to move half of the staff in, I believe, at Walt Disney. And that's principal design on who she's moving and when she's moving. And we did give a tour of that. I think everybody will say that was pretty impressive. Colors are nice.
It's amazing.
The wings,
Great spaces for the kids.
the new spaces are nice.
Terrazzo really.
Terrazzo was that you hit it at the perfect time because they just sealed it. It was as shiny as it'll ever be. Top picture is Neil Armstrong millwork being installed and just a room full of it actually. And at the bottom is they're working on prepping the floors. You can see how shiny that moisture mitigation makes the concrete floor just to seal it up. And then the last two pictures is flooring going in at Walt Disney and the exterior metal panels siding, buttoning up the outside there. And I'd be glad to give any tours, anybody on the board, 1, 2, 10, collectively, just call me. Anybody wants to go for a walk, it's, that auditorium's.
It really is a perfect time, if I just chime in, to see the audit now before all the seats go in. You get a perspective of the size of the facility, and then once the seats go in, it kind of scales itself.
Any questions? Nothing? Comments? Perfect. You guys have a great evening. Thank you.
You looked at me with that.
I was expecting something.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Take care.
So we're gonna move on to teacher report from business and family assistant side.
Yeah, okay, thank you. There's, control, who's controlling the? Okay,
Business first?
please. Oh, Mrs. Baxter's there. Well, it's a business. All right. Good evening, everyone. Superintendent Daly and board members, let's turn this on. Okay, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to see some actual past students, Mr. Long, who's in class. That's that's something we can discuss at a special board meeting. We'll invite you to your session. And it's great to see you. I can't believe time has gone past that. And also Mr. Moscato, who we've been a long time knowing each other from past board members. So anyway, today I'm going to be introducing a little bit about our department and going over some of the updates as well as some reflections. I'm not going to read this out to you, but of course it's kind of a mix of a mission statement, vision, and put all in one. But the idea of business education provides a solid educational foundation for students who want to successfully complete college programs in business disciplines. And our coursework is now more emphasis on project-based and practical experiences with a connection to some dual credit opportunities and so forth. So our agenda tonight, real quick, is going to be course review, student testimonials, and highlights. So you'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. One of the things that you did pass is, as a school board and the community, thank you, a half-year course for career exploration and financial literacy. This was designed to give kids the needed literacy, financial literacy, and when they go out into the real world and to explore careers and during school, give them an idea of what they wanted to do to go on to college and study and possibly go into a career. The course is an exceptional course, and it's working out really well with students. And I'll give you some more evidence of that. Some of the things that we do in there are career profiling at the beginning. And I know that middle school and some of the FACS classes, as well as some other classes, integrate some of that in English and so forth at the high school. But we're finding a lot of kids are still, even at senior year, are still, trying to decide what to do or where to go and what, not just go to college. So we continue to spark their attention and to reflect and give them some of the ideas that might help them make some better decisions or to make some decisions. Now we talk about job application process and applying and cover letters, resumes, and going through interviews. And we'd actually do mock interviews not during this time, during COVID, but during class time, we would have kids doing mock interviews and so forth. And it works out well. We have a good time with it. We also get into more of the soft skills and workplace ethics and scenarios and what's proper and making sure that kids understand what our employers are looking for more than just the skills, but more of the soft skills, not just the hard skills that they might acquire. Entrepreneurship, we go do a little unit on that because, it's important to lead in that you might have another career idea or a sub, we see that we have a gig economy where a lot of people are Ubering and delivering food and so forth, and it's a supplemental income. So we give an idea that sometimes you might desire to go and be your own business owner or work for something of those companies and on the side and do some other things that become, or have your own business in general, salon or whatever you desire. So we do a small unit in that because that is a career choice in itself as well. Of course, then we get into the savings, budgeting, checking, credit, and then also look at financial pitfalls of scams that we're all aware of, insurance, and a little bit of taxes, and even on behavioral science. I brought in this year a little bit about how we spend and the psychology of advertising and so forth, just to get people aware of how to use their opportunity for money and where it goes. 4 students, Leon Burgess, Janae Robinson, and Kylie Meisenthal, and Lanny Stubbs, were kind enough to, you'll see in the following video, to, following slides, to talk a little bit about what they've learned in so far in their previous classes or in the current class. So we'll listen to each one of these they're real short. So what are some of the benefits that you have taken away from this course as you complete your senior year? And that's Leon Burgess.
I have been taking career exploration and financial literacy for the past 2 courses. Classes taught me about creating a cover letter and a resume to get the job that I now currently have. And it is also great for my future career goals. The classes also taught me how to budget my money so that I have been able to save money for a car. And I have also learned the importance of saving my money and not spending it every payday. It has helped me understand the importance of living within my means and not spending more money than I actually have. I benefited from the career financial class at Gates Chili, and it helped me meet my financial goals and think about the future.
Next student, how has this course helped you prepare for the working world? Let's see.
Career has helped me understand how to set up a resume and how to budget my money better. Career has also helped me with my job at Weddings. Without career, I don't think I would understand the importance of a savings account.
Okay. Can you explain how the savings and investing units from this course will help you 50 years from now?
This class has helped me understand saving and investing because it prepares us for financial responsibility. When you know how to spend money and put things into savings, you can understand what you need for your future. When you invest into things that you think will be beneficial to you in the future, you can have more in your earnings. So it'll basically prepare you for when you're old and you need money. Then the money will be there if you save it properly. This class helps us understand how to save and put money aside into things that will help us in the future. Because future ain't guaranteed, dude.
How have the units of this course helped prepare you for life after high school? Let's see if we go next one. They must have.
This class.
There we go.
Career exploration has helped me understand the importance of budgeting and saving. Saving is important because you can earn interest, which makes you more money, and you can also save for your future. Career has helped me understand the importance of budgeting by helping me realize the difference of needs and wants in the real world.
Okay, so those are some of the students. I just wanted to give an overview because that's important to keep evaluating the course and making sure that it's meeting the requirements at Gates Chili, as well as of course, the state standards, and to make sure that we're doing justice with it. I always believe in that. So we will be given a final, as we did last semester, and it's a final multiple choice or objective questions just to gather data and to see where kids are at and so on. It's important. So other highlights include RIT, accounting and U program. We still have a real strong connection with them. This year, of course, was a little bit different. Students are actually go to RIT and participate in a 3 to 4 type of I guess they go 3 or 4 times in field trips, and they get to interact with PricewaterhouseCoopers employees, upper management, and past students that actually are working there. Many of the students that are choosing actual careers in accounting because of this particular, over the years of this particular program. So dual credit is also available as well through that program. And there's a link there if you, from the board docs, if you want to get on and look for more information about it, description. Enroll Genesee Community College dual credit, and we still have affiliation with all these courses. I won't read through them, but we still have dual credit worthy courses that we follow along with MCC's curriculum and integrated with ours, and making sure that we're meeting their necessary things where the kids go on to school and have some credit. The biggest thing this year is a little bit light because of, some of the interest might fall, not as the appropriate time for financial need or whatever it may be. A little lighter this year in some of the courses, but I think as kids get back into school in the fall, we'll start picking it up and be able to sell it more and so forth. Wanted to make sure we know we're in connection to the Career Center, and we said highlights. Still things going on. Talked to Mr. Lanning, and he's in charge of that, and he gave me this overview of what's happening. Virtual college visits. You can read through. We had a 60 college and university. Usually we have those college come into school, but of course we had to do it virtual to give students still an opportunity to connect with and get information. Virtual shadowing, not easy to set up, but we had some students take part in virtual career job shadowing as well. Student virtual conferences that are still going on, respiratory, these are in the past, more they are too, is what we do, where he actually does through his career center, which gives just like BOCES has, where it gives a lot of kids opportunity to look into careers that they can't make a decision during a class time. And so they can expand on and find out more about it. So we have accreditation in CTE, and we hosted MCC SUNY Brockport GC virtual instant admission days. It also is in care of that, so kids can get instant admission into those schools, and it makes it real simple for them to apply and so forth and get help. And co-op internships with 40 students currently enrolled. And of course, that was a little bit more difficult, but students are still working Wegmans and so forth, or local restaurants and other places, and it's the best we can do. So our next goals we're looking at, where somebody mentioned they wanted to look at financial literacy certificates or endorsement or something of that nature. Might be a nice way to say is, that a student has earned, and maybe somehow assess that and really make it so we make sure that we're hitting all the goals and the meeting, that every kid leaves here with a standard that is not missed, okay, or any of the information that we need to make sure that they know about financial literacy. Partnering with Junior Achievement, as it was discussed earlier, we had that same idea. We've done that a little bit in math, math class, and we're thinking about doing it in the clear expiration module because of the connection they have with the community, and if we can reach out and connect, and it's feasible, and that might be a great opportunity for us. There also is integrated QuickBooks into accounting. That might be an opportunity for, since we do have a year-long course, accounting offers us to expand some of the knowledge, and QuickBooks is offering free software for students to Intuit, and it's all free. And I've gotten the information, and they can, and all the fictitious, the companies and the data that they can put in there, so you don't have to come up with your own stuff. And kids can come out with a actual workable QuickBooks knowledge, which would be a great thing for those kids that wanted to work in an office or to contribute to having their own business or whatever it may be. So it might be something to look into in one of the courses, or quick accounting would be most appropriate, I believe. And questions? Oh yeah.
I lost track of when we put in the financial literacy requirement for graduation. What's the first class that graduates gonna have that?
That would be the 2010, I believe. They have to require it. 11th and 12th didn't have to go through that, but 2010. I mean, excuse me, the 10 class, so it'll be 2022. Yep. Sorry, I'm thinking, what am I thinking there? 2022. I know, I'm thinking way backwards, so I'm thinking. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Great job.
Sorry.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Family suicide?
Who's doing it going next?
Take your time. Okay, so, good evening, Superintendent Daly and Board of Education. So I'm really proud to be here representing the Family and Consumer Science Department. I was asked to talk about some of our successes this year and some of our struggles and how we're going to move forward from those. So I thought instead of hearing me talk, that I would ask my department and students to give their opinion, because it is very different, because you're gonna see ranges from 6th grade all the way through 12th grade. You're gonna see basic facts, culinary, food science, so there's a little bit of everything that goes in there. One of the things that I do wanna say that was a success is having to use technology, right? We're now kind of in this world where everybody has a laptop and we're expecting to use technology. So I'm explaining this is one of my successes, and then I'll explain why it was one of my struggles after you watch the video.
My name is Stephanie Lacey, and I'm one of the middle school family and consumer science teachers. One of the things that I think has gone well this year is our ability to collaborate with each other as a middle school and a high school department. We each brought different strengths in technology, and we were able to help each other out and problem solve and bring new websites, new tools in Schoology and new tools in Flipgrid to the classroom to help engage our students that were hybrid or fully remote.
Hi, I'm Michelle Cotterell, and I teach family and consumer science at the high school. And I would say that there are several successes that I have experienced this year. One would be that, we're fortunate that we teach class life skills. And we've always been one to connect with students and have those talks that you might not normally have in another setting. And I think that with this trying time, it has allowed for us to really even more so connect with students.
Hi, my name is Dana Navarro-Lindsay, and I'm one of the middle school FACS teachers. One of the things that I've found that we've been successful in this year is that we were able first semester to complete cooking in both 6th and 7th grade with almost 100% participation.
Hi, a success that we've had this year in the FACS department is the students are cooking and working individually, so it's easier to assess their skills and their growth in the kitchen. This will impact the future of our department because I believe we will maintain the individual recipes and the students doing a lot of the work for themselves.
I think that it's a success being able to not only email, but also to communicate through Schoology and to also have the teams that allow us to have face-to-face time with those students who can't be with us in person.
It was very important to focus on bringing a sense of normalcy to what has been an upside-down kind of year. So it was no surprise when our students were very eager and excited to start cooking in our brand new kitchens. Having smaller class sizes provided more one-on-one attention, especially for those students that were cooking for the very first time.
Another strategy to kind of work on this is to
engage students that are remote by calling on them, talking to them, even forming relationships with them, even though I've not met them in person.
Parent writes, thank you so much for your work with Brendan. You were flexible enough to accommodate his needs as a remote learner, and you were creative enough to figure out ways for remote learners to get similar experiences to in-person learners. My mother worked with Brendan on his pillow project. She is a vibrant 75-year-old woman who had to slow down to keep safe from COVID. The pillow project gave her something meaningful to do and helped her reconnect with her middle school grandson. They really enjoyed each other's company and shared lots of laughs along the way.
There is no denying that the biggest struggle across the district has been to get active participation and engagement of our remote students and our hybrid students on their at-home days. This was no different for FACS class. Having a teacher fully remote and on Teams every day in the classroom, the expectation had been set since day one in September, that our FACS class would be live and streamed on Teams daily. Seeing how excited our in-class students were to start learning about cooking, it was no surprise that our remote learners were just as eager. In order to provide similar experiences for those in class, our FACS team of teachers and aides worked hard putting together over 1,200 food kits to be given out at our remote pickup days, so all students would be provided the same opportunities. This was very well received by our students, and we saw an increase in student participation with the use of these hands-on activities at home.
Unfortunately, one of the struggles that we've had this year as a department, I would say, and for me personally, would be engaging the students that are fully remote, that are not attending live Teams meeting and are not submitting any assignments.
Student engagement has definitely been different this year. Those students that are physically in the classroom, although they may be there in smaller numbers, definitely struggled to want to participate in class because a lot of them would just want to blend into the classroom. So being able to have a chat feature open in Teams allowed those students to still participate, but without having to talk in the middle of class.
Hello. A struggle that we've had this year in the FACS department is reaching the remote students with engagement and assessing their skills. One way we were able to work to overcome this is by creating discussion boards, synchronous learning, so the students both remotely and in class are communicating with each other. To assess the skill, we've asked the students that are remote to take photographs or a video, if they so choose, of them making the product along the way. So they need to show the progression of the product from beginning to end. That is how we've overcome some struggles this year.
The one thing that's successful this year is Teams, because you get to log in some kids in the class or platform.
Hi, my name is Jenny, and I take 7th grade FACS, and what I like about this year's FACS class is that it's small costs.
My name is Victoria Bisou, and I'm in regional foods. One thing that has been successful this year is getting to be here some of the time.
My name is Samantha. I take culinary too. One thing that I think that's been successful this year is working in the individual labs, because I know that's something that has really helped me focus without anyone else in the kitchen.
Hey, my name is Saeed. I take food science with Missy at Gage Charlotte High School. I think food science has been a really success this year because we actually had the opportunity to do labs and while COVID was still around. So yeah, and one of the labs we did was actually gummies, and we made basically gummy bears or like kind of like the first snack for you. Not bad.
My name is Ariana. I take 7th grade FACS, and one thing my FACS teacher does well is communicate. She makes sure everyone understands the directions for the day.
My name is Ben, and I teach science at the high school. One thing I think that has been a success in FACS class this year is having everything on the computer and having a teacher tell me what I have to do for that assignment.
I think it's just gonna repeat, so you can follow it.
My name is Stephanie Blasey, and I'm one of the middle school family and consumer science teachers. My name is Stephanie.
In case you didn't know who I am, my name is Stephanie Blasey. So I said at the beginning that this is one of my successes. I've used Flipgrid before, I've used video editing before. I also said I would share why this was one of my struggles. That video, despite the fact that I clearly did not talk through all of it, took me about 7 hours, including 1 hour with Mike Munsky, teasing each other to figure out why Flipgrid wasn't working properly and why when I was using video editor, it was cutting off their sound and only their face was showing and going back and forth. So I think it's just really important to know that sometimes our successes and failures are kind of one and the same. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say I have a 6th grader, and how impressed I was at the food unit when we picked up everything we needed. It was everything, down to the teaspoon of vanilla and the cinnamon, and everything you needed was in there. We were just blown away by that. And it could have just been an email, grab these ingredients from home, and how well it was put together. Thank you.
Thank you. So we decided as like a whole department, whether we were at the middle school or the high school, that if we were going to cook, that we were going to provide everything. And that means 1,200 food kits at the middle school, countless more food kits at the high school. And we would measure out and cut that tablespoon of butter. We would pour out those 2 tablespoons of milk. And I have to say, at least the aides at the middle school have been absolutely phenomenal. So at the end of the day, there's like a troop that comes down of 6 of them, and they all have their station and they all get their job assignment, and they're all sitting there pouring out hundreds of different things. So thank you, we appreciate that. Anything else?
Any other questions?
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up is transportation and facilities board.
Okay, good evening again, Superintendent Daly and board members. Appreciate the opportunity to give you a quick update tonight about facilities and security. Dr. Ball challenged me this year to come up with a mission statement for our department. And with the help of the department leads, my admin assistant, Dr. Ball, and of course Eva, our mission in facilities and security is to work together to provide a clean, safe, secure, oh dear, not on the right slide.
Over here.
Thank you.
Oh, there it is.
Hey, all right.
That was me.
Oh, it was you?
It was me.
So which button is it? It's a red one.
I don't know. It's not my room.
That's the right one?
Right side.
Thank you. Okay, so anyways, apologize. Our mission is to work together to provide a clean, safe, secure, and aesthetically pleasing environment to enhance the educational and community experience, exceeding all expectations in support of the district's mission and values. The facilities department has 5 full-time maintenance mechanics who cover all trades from electrical, plumbing, HVAC, carpentry, and painting. They are led by the district's electrician, who is also our maintenance lead, Eric Vandenberg. We have 4 full-time and 1 part-time groundsman led by head groundsman Tom Scopa, who is here this evening and was recognized. The department employs 6 head custodians, 4 custodians, 32 cleaners, and 5 sub-cleaners. The custodial department is led by a custodial lead, Rich Castry, who is also the head custodian at Paul Road. Security is part of the facilities department as well, and we have 10 full-time and 1 part-time security guard who hold a civil service title, which requires them to test. So that's kind of a big deal that our district has that title. A lot of districts don't. That department is led by John Soderman during most of the school year, but John is a 10-month employee, so Steve Torres covers as the lead during break weeks and over the summer. We also employ Gates Chili students as student helpers in the custodial maintenance and grounds departments over the summer. Just a quick snapshot of our budget. Our overall operating budget, including utilities, is nearly $2.3 million a year, and with personnel and benefits included, it's just over $5.9 million a year. So pretty good budget. This is probably my favorite slide just because of the big numbers. They are kind of impressive. It really is. We maintain over 820,000 square feet of building and approximately 230 acres of land. And we do that with thankfully, just because we have some really good people in our department. The areas cover, the square footage and the acreage serves over 393,900 students, 750 staff, and are open under normal circumstances to our community as much as possible. I mean, even today, you look out at our track, there's just tons and tons of people out there that are community members, so that's awesome. Our maintenance and grounds teams do an amazing job at a nearly $1.8 million budget, maintaining, repairing, as needed, the interior and exterior of 11 buildings, 24 athletic fields, a new stadium, 12 tennis courts, and an 8-lane track and field complex. So. Our custodial department, this is another group that I'm excited to talk about. They really stepped up during this pandemic and have done a great job protecting students and staff from COVID-19. We have a head custodian in each of our buildings. We have a day and night custodian in the high school and middle school. Our 32 cleaners do every kind of cleaning you can think of, and they all know what sanitizing and disinfecting means now. So sanitizing is cleaning away the germs, COVID, and disinfecting is using a product that you spray on it that kills it. Thankfully now we have a product that disinfects in 30 seconds. It's from Ecolab, so that's awesome. We have at least 2 people working 4 10-hour days right now in our buildings who spend the last 2 hours of their day using an electrostatic sprayer to spray and disinfect. And so they are using a disinfectant product that kills germs. This department has an operating budget of $347,375 with an overall budget of just over $2.75 million. And then I wanted to just highlight that this was a kind of impressive chart for me that I put together for last year's board meeting that we didn't get to do. And this was impressive before COVID, and I think it's even more impressive after. I won't go through every single building. It is a little challenging in our elementary schools to meet the industry standard, which is 20,000 square feet cleaned in an 8-hour day per cleaner. But as a district, we do over 21,600 as an average. So I'm very pleased with that. Okay. Our security department has 8 full-time and 1 part-time employee on days. as well as a part-time SRO from the Gates Police Department, we average about 20 hours a week of help from our SROs. We also get help in the evenings from the Gates Special Police. We also have 2 full-time members who work the swing shift and help cover evening activities like our board meeting tonight. The security department's operating budget includes the cost of the SROs and the special police, and the total budget is just under $527,000 a year. The last item I'm a little challenged with this. Sorry.
You're doing great.
So the last thing I wanted to highlight tonight was our energy performance contract. We started that more than a year ago. This spreadsheet is a little busy, but it does give you just kind of a breakdown of what some of the energy performance things we focused on in each of our buildings. The project was a $4.1 million project with the annual savings of $225,501 annually. So we will get a very significant savings from this project that we invested in. Johnson Controls is a company that we hired to do this project, and they will be the ones tracking the savings. They installed meters on some of the heaters that they added to, like the booster pumps for the washers that are used in the kitchen. So they have ways to track the energy that was consumed before and the energy savings that we're going to have afterwards. So, if you want to take time to look at this, it gives you the details of everything, so you'll have the opportunity to do that. Finally, I just want to say thanks to Superintendent Daly, Dr. Ball, and all of you for the awesome support that we get in the facilities and security department. We have the supplies, the equipment, the personnel we need to do a good job, and so I do really appreciate that support. That's all I have. Any questions?
Great job.
Okay, thank you.
That one? No. Point of ballot.
Hello again. I know a lot of people have said it tonight, but it is nice for me to be presenting tonight because we canceled last year right in March. So for me, we are getting back to some real normal stuff here in our district. So it's some of the stuff I'll go over tonight is the stuff that we missed last year. Right off the bat, it's funny that Andy's here because he's been my photographer for all these years. Unfortunately, Eva stole his thunder this year and took this picture. I really wanted Eva to try to capture what we do because a lot of times everyone says we're the first smile and the last smile for the kids, but we're also in everyone's community. And she was able to really grab some nice pictures this year for me to show you that when we show up to someone's house, the parents are there, the grandparents are there, the babysitter's there. It's really, we're at their homes every morning and afternoon. So it's more than just the kids. It's really nice that she was able to do that. So tonight's agenda, I'll go over some data points, our daily schedule, what we deal with, I'll go over our school bus and how we track them, and then our goals for the year. So our staff, I'm the director of transportation. We have 4 head drivers that work in our department. And then we have our mechanic staff. Andy is here tonight, obviously, our foreman. It's nice that you guys get to meet him. We have our mechanics and then 80 driver positions. I put on there that we're currently 11 open, which we are. Most districts around the county are hurting really bad. We're actually pretty good compared to the other ones. We've been able to manage everything. We have had to cut middle school late runs this year to manage that. That's how we're able to do this right now. But we are able to get our kids to and from school this year so far. We are fully staffed with our attendants. We have 18 attendants. That fluctuates every year. We've been anywhere from 16 to 20, depending on the needs of the children. Our fleet, we take a lot of pride in our fleet. We have 89 total school buses that we manage. Currently right now, I put on there on the side, you'll see the 3-point harnesses. If you're not aware, we are been over the years now been purchasing the 3-point seat belts. So it's really nice to see at 51 of our 66, there's 44 of them. And our 35 passengers, there's 11. So this year and the end of last year, every in-district child that we transport, we've routed with a bus with our seat belts. Our facility staff we also maintain. We have our facility vehicles, security, transportation, our driver ed card as well. We do help out with the tractors. We did have to really get into some John Deere and get the manual on that. They're not used to that, but we were able to tear one apart and fix that before as well. Our safety record. The mechanics are just outstanding. The state goal is 10%. That's what DOT requires. You can see we have never gone over 4, even with COVID and all the craziness. Department of Transportation might have shut down their DMV, but they did not shut down DOT. They were showing up no matter what, and if we didn't present, it would fail. So throughout this entire time, our mechanics have been working, taking care of the buses, and a lot of times even you hear it as well, what do you do in the summer when they don't run? We're still on that rotation. They still have to be inspected for brakes. They still have to be inspected for their maintenance. So we've been there, and we were under 2, which was outstanding. The guys take a lot of pride in that. They do not like when there's a failure. Our accidents, I wish were lower, but we did have, with COVID, because we kind of ended in March, but we did have 4 loud accidents again, or 3 loud accidents. And now when I call them accidents, they tap a mirror. We count everything. We count every single thing as an accident, so we can train, retrain, and get better. So when they are listed as accidents, you got to remember that could just be tapping the mirror next to them, or unfortunately having a worse accident. Some of our budget items, I like to kind of show you that this is more not benefits and stuff. This is where we track in the maintenance side, the tires, the parts, the lubricants, all that stuff. Insurance, we really want to make sure that what we're doing is right, buying the right stuff, bidding the right way, and making sure that we're not overspending. And then the 78 actual codes, it's not benefits, but that's all those codes there, including fuel. And you can see that we try to maintain the same, if not go down every year. Part of that is our fuel cost. COVID, obviously, it will go down, which is there. This year, obviously, everyone knows the fuel prices are going up, so this number is going to go up next year. I'll get into our tracking system that helps manage that in a little bit later slide. But we are trying to track everything we can with our buses for our fuel. So our daily schedule, really it's pretty simple. We have in-district special education, our private schools, our charter schools, and our MD and our foster students. So this is pre-COVID. I kind of wanted to start there and show you where we were last year and how we were working on it. Our total trips that we do on the side, or on the left side, and then the amount of students that we do in those trips over on the right. So what the next slide will show you is those same numbers and then with COVID. So our trips did go down a little bit in district because obviously we have remote, and our student count went down by almost 1,000 with our remote kids when we did this. Our special ed was pretty close to the same. Most of those kids have been going this whole time. Our private schools, you'll see, stayed the same, if not increased a little bit, because a lot of them stayed open and they've been 5 days, so that really didn't drop. Our charter schools are still a lot closed, so that's why that number has been down. They really struggled to open through this, and then they closed on us and opened, and it's been a very challenging year with our charter. And then the last one is our MV and our foster kids. You'll see that that's gone down. I'm a little concerned with that next year because this is obviously no one has been evicted this year, so that number's dropped because of that and been stable. That's helped us. If you're not aware, the MV is where we have to travel up to 50 miles, so that really puts a lower strain on our department when we're trying to get it all over the county on that one. So that's helped us through COVID. So our daily schedule, our routes obviously went down a little bit with COVID. Like I mentioned, we're not doing the late runs, but even there we stay consistent. We used to be way up in the 70s, almost 80 you can see, and we've tried to stay down at 65, 66 to keep it manageable. And our trips per day, you can see have decreased over the years as well. Our school buses, I gave everybody a folder. I just thought it would be nice to get, you don't have to open it right now. It is a brochure. it's the C2 that we buy, you know, if you go buy a Suburban, you know, you get to look at it. I just thought it was really nice to give you guys one. And on the other side is actually the electric school bus that some of you have heard, if not all of you have heard, that we're interested in looking at. So that's the brochure on that one. We take a lot of pride in the buses that we buy here. The health and retention is a huge part of why we keep the drivers that we have. The state has actually used us as a example to show that when you have newer vehicles, the drivers like it. I mean, it's their office. They're in it all day long. No one wants to open manual doors. No one wants a bumpy ride. You know, you want to make it comfortable. They're in it for 7 hours a day. So we are known for that. We have other drivers that come to us. I just interviewed a gentleman from Florida, and he knew by coming up here and talking to people that Gates would be the place that you want to try first for what we take care of and how we do it. Those safety records with the DOT, a lot of people that do research us, that is all public knowledge, so they like to see that, and they know that we take care of our buses. Our safety features, obviously, are the seat belts that we've got, several safety features, but the two big ones are the seat belts, and last year, if you've noticed, any bus that now has the red lights on the bumper, that's a big thing going around now, so you have your flashing lights at the top, but we're buying them now in the bumper. They're seeing that texting, your head's always down, so they're hoping that helps people not run reds that you see on the news all the time. And if you haven't seen one, you will see it when it lights you up when it's dark in the morning. They are bright. And then environmental considerations, obviously, with electric buses and stuff that we're looking into. And even without the electric buses, our buses are extremely clean. With the newer engines and the technologies that we have, you don't see the smoke coming out of the tailpipes and in the bus lots and everything. What we have is really good. So not everyone's aware, but we do have a tracking system. I know a lot of people like hearing the GPS. I actually don't even like it for the GPS. The GPS is nice, but the big thing that I like about our system is it does a driver coaching system. It actually coaches them how to drive as they're driving. It tracks them. They have scores, shift scores. Little graph on the side there shows you just a little bit of like what the buses would have, and then with our system, what we're getting. And it shows you that we're getting 13% better. So yes, we're investing in our GPS, but we're saving on the fuel and the safety end of it. And then we also have all the mechanical warnings on our system. The system was designed by RIT actually for the military. And then I kind of call it the Gatorade. If anyone knows, Gatorade was developed by Florida University, but they get no credit. RIT doesn't get the credit for this because they couldn't make money on it, so this company took off with it, and now they've been selling it right here in Rochester. So it's a great company for us. Some of our department goals is obviously the first one is just bring the students and staff back safe. We've built guards behind all our seats for the drivers, which I'm never getting rid of because people have got shoes thrown at them and they love it. They think these are, besides COVID, they just absolutely love these guards. They think they're the best thing. So we designed them, we built them in-house, and we'll be able to take them out and put them in every bus that we buy. And, you know, they're just great. They're right behind the driver. We've been sanitizing every bus, every trip. We have sprayers on every bus. So the drivers that are here have spread that out there, and they feel safe. Fill and maintain our open positions. Obviously, that's a main goal. Even I've been working hard on that. We had another meeting today with the county where we've got some ideas that we're working on to try to do recruitment for the whole county. So we're working on that. And then a nice thing is Chris and Mitch came to me and they BOCES had a training program. If you ever saw their purple bus and that bus broke down and they didn't know what they were going to do to keep the program going. So we partnered with them to use one of our buses and get their training going, which is nice because I'm hoping they train people on a grant basis, and I'm hoping at least one a year decides to be a school bus driver. You know, so that's a nice way to do that. So obviously, I'm starting on the second goal already. If you guys ever leave the board and decide to, apply second career, obviously, please go on. Anybody, hey, it's open. I got to start now. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, if you ever run into Johnny and our head driver's got cards in his pocket, he's always handing them out. So I got to offer. Anyone got any questions? Yes.
I don't have a question. Can I share a comment I shared with you this morning?
Absolutely.
Okay, so my son started jazz band, my younger son, so, but today is remote day for him, so I dropped him off at 7:15 and then waited in the parking lot till 7:45 5. And as I was sitting there, I realized I wish I had a book, but I didn't bring it with me. So I was just people watching. And one of our buses pulled up along the backside by the band room. And I was just nothing else to look at, so I was watching the driver. And he was clearly talking to somebody who knew somebody was on the bus. And a few minutes before arrival time, this little kid came up to the front of the bus. And I believe he was a special needs kid, just from observation. And he was very curious and all over pointing and wanting, you could just tell through the interaction, he had a million questions. And that driver was probably the most patient man I've ever seen. And even when the child got in personal space, you could tell it was a conversation that backed up, but the started my day off with a smile, and I could see the driver's kindness in his eyes, even with a mask on, but it was just a nice way to start the day.
That's, he was very thankful when I shared that with him.
Very patient. Questions?
Thank you, excellent job.
Let honor system up next.
I can tell you.
Hi, everyone.
You don't have to say my name.
Good afternoon, tonight, Superintendent Daily Board of Education. I do have hard copies if anybody's interested in the PowerPoint.
Sure.
So, again, thank you for having me. This is something we've been working on at the high school as a committee for a couple months now, since we were able to gather a little bit more frequently. We have a nice committee that we got together, and we met about 5 times during the school year. And this is something that I grew more and more passionate about as we researched and talked with the schools and talked with my students. And when I get to that part of the PowerPoint, this is just absolutely amazing stuff. So, if I can figure out how this thing works. Let's see. There we go. All right. So here are the committee members. We have a nice spread of teachers, NHS representation, teachers from different departments, administrators, all that contributed a significant amount of time looking at different data points, great conversations, very extensive. We could have kept going on and on for days, but we wanted to get this to you guys as soon as possible and have a good decision on what we wanted to present. So our current system of class rank is based on a student overall GPA using weighted grades. Those weighted grades come from AP classes, honors classes, and dual credit classes that students take at the high school to try to boost their overall GPA to get a higher class rank. This list is ran twice, and the final rank is ran just at the end of the first semester. So we have our valedictorian and our salutatorian. So the valedictorian and salutatorian history, this is a breakdown, just how close you guys can see the number 1 student, number 2 student, number 3 student for the last 3 years have been with a weighted GPA versus an unweighted GPA. We're talking tenths and hundreds of decimal points off between the students and between the last 3 years. And as you dug deeper into the data, it just was more consistent. You can see the consistency amongst the classes. So why change the system? This is a system that's very traditional. It's been done for years at all sorts of school districts across the country. So I have a nice video from a representative at Rockford State that's going to introduce why we are looking to change the system here at Gates Child.
Hi, my name is Megan Sarkis, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at SUNY Rockport, here to give you my perspective as a college admissions officer on the elimination of class rank. When thinking of class rank, it's an interesting and somewhat subjective piece of information, because how do you put value to a student who is ranked number 1 in their high school graduating class of 75 compared to a student who may be ranked 100th, but in a large graduating class of 250 or more students, like at Gates Chi-Li? And the difference between the student ranked first in their class and the student ranked 20th could be as little as 1/100th of a point. Due to the tremendous differences in criteria and grading standards at different high schools, many admissions officers, including those at SUNY institutions and most selective private institutions, no longer emphasize the importance of class rank as a factor when evaluating applicants. There are many other pieces to a student's admissions application that help college officials evaluate their achievement and potential for future success at their college. Additionally, the class rank system has led to an overly competitive environment in high schools and places unnecessary stress on students. Some students will only look to take weighted honors or AP classes knowing how that can bolster their class rank, when in reality, that same student may miss out on taking some substantive elective courses that could be relevant to their future career or college major, because those aren't weighted. By eliminating class rank, schools foster a more career exploration mindset among students because they can choose classes without the pressure of how they will affect their class rank. In summary, if Gates Chi-Li were to eliminate class rank, students in the district will not be hindered in the college admissions process, as class rank has truly become a thing of the past. Thank you.
So again, Megan Sarkis from Brockport State. We have a great relationship with Brockport State, and our counselors reach out to her frequently. And she mentioned a lot of the key points I'm going to get into in a moment. But this wasn't just Brockport State. This is echoed across school or colleges and universities in Monroe County, across the state, across the country. So just some quick data we were able to collect. University of Buffalo, they use more of a holistic approach. They do not really look into the rank as much. It's used more of a rough gauge. And again, it's at the University of Buffalo. Right here at RIT, they do not have a GPA requirement and would prefer to see more rigorous classes on the transcript, even if that means the student's GPA is a little lower, who has not taken honors or AP classes. So we had a saying as we kept meeting, let the transcript speak for itself. Instead of having those weights there, the weights a little bit more, let that transcript speak to itself as students are applying for colleges. Again, SUNY Geneseo, another local school. Geneseo does not offer specific scholarships for students named Valedictorian and Salutatorian. Geneseo looks to admit strong academic and well-rounded students who take a holistic approach to review the process. So that was one thing that did come up during our conversations where, are there any limitations for scholarships for students that are identified valedictorian, salutatorian? We will still have that data in the background if the college does request it, but we will not make it public. But again, as you saw from Megan's video and then at SUNY Geneseo, it does not hinder any students. And then University of Notre Dame, regarding rank affecting scholarships, no direct impact on scholarships as they look holistically at students. So they really want to see the big picture, what was the student involved in at the school district, what classes did they challenge themselves with, were they in any sports and clubs and activities, again, seeing that big picture. So then we started digging a little deeper and we got some student feedback, and this is where it was really, really powerful and really exciting stuff. So we surveyed AP dual credit and honors students, and we just asked them some three simple questions. What was the main reason you took these classes? And 73% said they wanted academic rigor and college preparation. We asked students, are you aware of what honors AP and dual classes offer for weighting? And 59% of them said yes. That's again, I think I believe at the high school level, we offer 5 points extra for honors classes, 8 points for dual credit classes, and 10 points on that weighted average for any AP classes that students take. And finally, some student data that we collected was was weighting a major factor in selecting your honors AP and or dual credit courses. 78% of students said that it was not a major factor. Again, they just want to see that rigor, not necessarily boost themselves for that for this distinction. So I then called in a couple students and had some one-on-one conversations with them and just flat out asked them, what are your thoughts on rank and weight? One of my seniors, Brianna Pavon, it's really unfair. That came out of her mouth very, very quickly. She would prefer unweighted grades. Very stressful for students, focus their whole career on rank and weighting. They focus on better grades and average instead of enjoying school. She chose dual credit class for more points over a drawing class that would really help with her average. So, again, that career exploration of taking all the great opportunities we offer here at Gates Chi-Li High School, she was more focused on dual credit and AP courses to bump up that average. And we went on and we had a great conversation about the competitiveness that is, driven by this amongst students. What are your thoughts on class rank again? One of our top seniors. It has become more and more of a competition of just trying hard in school. A lot of people stress about rank and weight. You can drive yourself crazy over it. And then finally, I believe you did meet this young lady a couple of months ago, Caitlin Weeks, valedictorian class of 2020. It creates an unnecessary stress. It takes away from the value of education. She focused on the grade, not the content or the skills. So she's being extremely successful at the next level of college, but she reflected on wanting to take and explore more classes here at the high school. So this young lady is a senior in the high school, Marta Sorak. This literally happened in my office while we were going through this process. I'll let her share her story, but she came into my classroom my office one day and almost in tears, upset because she had left an item at home that she needed for a class, and the teacher said, if you don't bring this item to class, you will lose points. And her thought process immediately went to, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose points, I'm going to get a 0, that's going to impact my GPA, and I'm going to drop my class rank. So instead of reflecting and trying to enjoy the class and have a good high school experience over this one item she may have left at home, she became rather upset because of the overall impact.
I believe that it is very unnecessary to have the students stressed out all the time about the ranks because it is sort of a competition. Personally, I remember when I forgot my assignment at home and I was very worried that my teacher is going to put a 0 in, so my rank would go down because the rankings are so close together, and the colleges don't even consider the rankings of the students, so I believe it is completely unnecessary.
Okay, so moving on to what we would like to propose moving forward at Case Charlotte High School. We would like to propose moving to a Latin honor system. It's a very traditional system utilized at the college level and across many schools across the country. If you're not familiar with it, there are 3 levels. There is a summa cum laude, which honors students with a 95 to 100 GPA. The magna cum laude honors students from a 90 to a 94.99. And then the cum laude, which is with honor, 85 to 89.99. We did have lots of discussions about trying to recognize more students other ways with a point system. There's a school around just outside of Monroe County that does use a point system. It became very convoluted. We wanted straightforward and take this baby step first to maybe evaluate that down the road. So if we were to implement the Latin system here at Gates Charlie for the last 3 years using the data, these are the numbers of students we would now be able to recognize at graduation for all their achievements. So currently with the valedictorian salutatorian process, you are only identifying 2 students at graduation, where for my graduating class this year, if we were to implement it, we would have 26 students recognized with summa cum laude, 72 students with magna cum laude, and 68 students with cum laude honors and recognition. So again, we are recognizing a lot more students for all of their achievements in whatever program they're in. So now we were able to recognize WMOCO students that are, absolutely busting their, tails at WMOCO to be recognized. We're recognizing special ed students in all their different programming, our 15-1 or 12-1 students that have earned that right to be recognized with these with this Latin system. So just around Monroe County, we're currently one of the few schools that are not utilizing the Latin honor system, and Spencerport is in their last year. They will be switching over to it as well. Big question that came up during our conversation. Traditionally, the valedictorian and the salutatorian do the 2 major speeches at graduation. One of the processes we decided to come up with was a summa cum laude student would be able to apply to be a keynote speaker at graduation. They'd be interviewed by a panel, high school principal, the senior assistant principal, some class advisors, and 2 faculty members would interview the students. The panel would recommend up to 5 students, and those students would then write their speeches for everybody to read before going in front of everybody at graduation. So now's the time for questions, but a couple of things I'd like to just really reinforce. when I spoke to the students one-on-one about rank and weight, there was just such a high amount of stress on all of their shoulders when they were talking about this. A couple points were brought up, choosing the AP and honors classes and the dual credit courses over everything else that we offer here at East Highlight. It was kind of disheartening to hear. Students will still be challenging themselves because we will push that, let the transcript speak for itself, but then students won't be hung up on taking only those AP courses and only those dual credit courses to try to boost their GPA. So one last proposal we would like to move forward with this is as I graduate the class of 2021, and I'm going to be beginning with freshmen next year. This would be the first year next year where we would start with that class. Moving forward, it would be a very nice transition because we would have to maintain 2 systems until next year's freshman class is seniors. So this would not impact any current seniors, juniors, or sophomores in the district. It would be from next year's freshmen.
This is something that will be on our next board meeting, so as an action item to discuss. So if there's any questions between now and then, please. Right?
GPAs are weighted or unweighted?
Right now, they go in as weighted.
No, for the first and next year.
We would look at unweighted.
Unweighted,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Again, some of that stuff, that will still be kept in the back end of things on school tools, so we could access it, but that information will not be made public.
Well, on a point being, somebody deciding to stretch a little bit and take an AP math class and only gets an 85, normally that's bumped up to what, a 90?
That would, so if it's an AP level, it would go up 10 points, so that's a 95.
So, that would be an example where, taking this class does stretch your learning, but obviously it's gonna hurt your GPA a little bit.
So the way, and this was some learning for myself, so just when the weighted average is figured out, it's put in, but on the actual report card and transcript, it's pulled out. So that 85 would still show up on there, but that would just overall boost your GPA to get that higher rank.
But you're still gonna have that issue with somebody saying, I could be magna cum laude, but because I got an 85, I'm not.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
You're not going to eliminate some of the stress that kids are gonna have, regardless of what you call the 3 levels.
Right.
It's just gonna be there. And you're always gonna have those kids who are gonna find some way of just striving to make that magna cum laude by taking easier courses than they could possibly be challenged by. So you're not gonna eliminate all the problems some of these kids are gonna bring to it. But I think the ranking system is due for a change.
Yeah, those are significant conversations we had because you will have students that say, okay, I'm going to just take these Regents level classes and get 95s so I can make summa cum laude. So we did have those conversations, but again, in the big picture of things, recognizing our Romoco students and all of our special ed programming and whatever else students are in, just recognizing many more students. But if you're absolutely right, that will be something that some students will probably work around.
Oh, yeah. We're fine with it.
So will both GPAs still be listed on the transcript?
No, so beginning with the freshman class, we were hoping to just list the unweighted average. Again, going back to let the transcript speak for itself. But we will have that information on the back end, just because we have 2 systems going on at once, and it's hard to take away the weighted GPA without impacting historical data.
And I think this is another comment I would love to see the whole effect of students understanding really when you're talking about the dual credit versus the AP and looking at the fact of, what outside colleges outside of New York accept as far as AP, and when they look at AP, they don't really understand what that means, so that's really a New York State thing versus the dual credit, which is a benefit because you can knock off some of those classes in college based on what dual credit classes you're taking and understand the real high importance of that for those students who are going to college.
Absolutely.
Does someone else have a question?
Great job.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Ball is making his way for the 2021-2022 budget.
Okay, Superintendent Daly and distinguished Board of Education, thank you for having me here tonight. Before I begin, I'd like to give a special thanks to Mr. English and Mr. Hempel for the great work that their departments have been doing, that they've been doing to get us through the last year. It's been incredibly challenging, and they have done a fantastic job with everything they've done. And at this point, the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because I wanted to encourage them to go home. They both get here very early in the morning. They have long drives. I was surprised when I came in and saw them. I said, I'm not used to seeing you gentlemen. I looked up to them and I said, you're both wearing suits. So very professional tonight. If you're free to stay, but please head out if you need to. So thank you. So with that, you're right, Mr. English, this is difficult.
Mitch, I can do it. You just tell me when it starts.
Oh, okay, that's not what that'll work. So it's not really a presentation, it's a PDF. So the first thing I'll talk about is the budget ambassadors. We can go ahead, go on right to budget ambassadors. A quick update, budget ambassadors, you can go down one more. Started February 9th. It went incredibly. I frankly was a little hesitant or skeptical when I started. Mr. Daly said this is going to be great. People are going to really engage in this process. It's going to help demystify the budget, and it did just that. By the end, people were really happy and impressed. We had 11 participants. Mrs. Hinchy-Unson was there for the first one. The first budget ambassador meeting went for about 2 hours. It was 85 slides. Both Miss Anna Lamb and Miss Sally Sanford did a fantastic job of helping me pull together a presentation, as well as Miss Petrosino with her design skill. That presentation was about 85, 90 slides. The second one, March 16th, was 2.5 hours. And it was also approximately 85 to 90 slides. A lot of information to dissect. The individuals who came there were very interested. In the first meeting, we had 11. Second meeting, we had 8. They asked a lot of great questions, were very engaging, especially by the second one. We had formed a bit of a relationship, and so they really dove in and were able to ask a lot of good questions, if you don't mind. So, one of the questions we asked in a survey at the end was, what did you find most beneficial? They thought the presentations were thorough, and the participation was good. They were very informative. They helped better understand the work that goes into formulating the budget. We really dove in deep. There was a clear picture of the financial outlook. That's okay. The details of the revenue slide in particular was well presented. Comparisons to other districts created good reference points. So that's one thing that we did do through the presentation is, throughout both presentations, is we compared ourselves to both West Side county districts and also to the county as a whole to say, how do we compare in expenditures, revenues, different aid factors, and really dove in deep so that they had a better understanding. And then one thing that we were happy to hear was that they indicated that we shared a great overview and welcome questions. So we tried to create a welcoming environment where people could feel comfortable better understanding what it is that we do. So we did ask them for some recommendations. One of them was that there's some uncertainty with expanding the capital reserve funds, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, to their maximum allowance, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and we need to be cautious with reserve fund spending. The good news there is that we do have particular reserves for particular purposes, one of them being the capital reserve fund. And now that it's nearly maximized, we're going through a process to engage not only people internally, but will engage in the near future the community to have conversations about what future work might look like. And then another recommendation was to provide students not college-bound opportunities for real success. So provide opportunity outside of the traditional classroom for extracurriculars in larger numbers. And that's something that we strive to do regularly as a district, to provide as many opportunities as possible for kids who maybe aren't going to college. And so those are conversations that we have and will continue to have as we look to make budget decisions. So overall, a really good process. Just wanted to update you on budget ambassadors. Are there any questions specific to the budget ambassador process or any feedback maybe you've heard? No? Okay. So the next update is a state aid update. This will be real brief because we went over state aid at the last presentation. If you recall, the governor's proposal included $3.6 billion to education statewide for Gates Chili. If you were to subtract building aid and transportation aid, which are expense-driven aids, they're things that are driven off of things that we have to pay for, we would see approximately a $7,500 reduction in aid. So that's without those things that are actually tied to some expenses, which means our expenses are higher than what we're getting back in aid. So then recently the federal funds have been approved in December, the CCRSA funds, Coronavirus Relief Act funds. The $54 billion was approved to Gates Chili. There was that reduction line of $3.6 million. This is saying that we should be made whole on that 3.6. That's our current understanding. And then more recently, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan bill. It included $130 billion to New York State. We're estimating in Gates Chili this will be $5.7 million. Now, that's a big number, but what we don't know is how it will be given to us and how it will be distributed. We don't know the timing. It may be over multiple years. We're hearing it may go out as far as 2024 that those funds can be used. So it may be split out over 3 years. We may have some control of that. We may not have control of it. So we don't know exactly what that's going to look like or what the timing is going to be, but we do understand that we're going to be getting additional funding that should help balance our budget. Okay? So expenditure budget, just some estimates. As I note here, these are estimates. So our budget goals and priorities, they're similar to last year. We want to protect current programming and staffing as much as possible, and then maintain our focus on our district goals, including student-centered learning, culturally responsive practices, and improving graduation rates and test scores. So budget up, our budget proposal is still modified zero-based. We've talked about this a few times. It maintains nearly all prior year assumptions plus increases. It's a no-frills budget. There's no extra in here this year because we know it's going to be tight. And then reduced flexibility, and it's very tentative. As mentioned, we don't know exactly how those state funds are going to be distributed. So until we know more, we won't know if we're going to need to rely on reserves or if we're going to need to bolster our budget with state funding. So just some highlighted cost increases. TRS and ERS are major costs, those salaries for the district, because we're approximately 66% people per dollar. So we're about 2/3 people. So our salaries are an important expenditure to the district. Pension costs are increasing. As you can see on the far right, the rate increase of from 9.53 to 10.53, that's a percentage of salaries. So you take your salary base and you multiply it by that number. And then the pension costs for ERS, which is our support staff, from 15% to 16%. So increases in both the pension systems. So we're going to have some increased costs in those areas. Health insurance is a big cost driver this year. Additionally, the retiree health insurance, we have approximately 607 retirees, and so this factors in all the costs associated with their plans, and then debt service, which is tied to our capital project, and we've talked about that a few times as well. That's a major driver in our budget, $1.8 million. So overall, in those categories alone, $6.5 million in cost increase. So we took the time to break the budget down into the three-part for this presentation, and this is an overview. This isn't final. We do have a budget workshop coming up on the 6th, and so we can dig into this in more detail at that time as needed. But overall, the administrative budget, looking at approximately 3.9% increase. We factored in everything from the staff conversations we've had a few months ago to the supplies and materials, and now we're at a point where we can start firming up the budget. So We recently firmed up the BOCES budget, and so now we're really just getting the reports out. So this is fresh as of yesterday, and so we've really gotten to a point where we're starting to firm up the numbers. So instructional program budget, looking at a 2.32% increase. These are all the areas in instruction. There, you will note that in the notes, it says allocation of salaries to proper codes. This is just recoding. We're continuing to recode for the transparency and ESA reporting. We believe that we're now complete with that process. So hopefully, I did mention last year that this would be a 2 to 3 year process. We're hoping we've fairly firmed that up and gotten every staff member into the right budget code as we move forward. So you'll see some swings in some of those numbers this year, and then next year we should be in a really good place to move us forward. One thing I will note, though, that in both legislative proposals for the budget, they are advocating to remove the transparency reporting requirement. So we've done a lot of work to remedy these budget code issues, but now they may remove part of the requirement for us to do it. So we'll have a budget that's separated out by building that'll look really nice now, but we may not have needed to have done this. So we'll find out what happens. Capital budget, 12% increase. This is largely tied to debt service related to the capital project. As you can see, there's a $1.8 million increase there. That's the biggest cost driver in the capital budget. Okay, 3-part budget looking last year to this year, or I should say this year to next year. You'll see that there's a slight shift out of instruction and over to capital. That's because a $1.8 million increase in debt service costs is causing a cost shift. Okay, so we're not really reducing our support of instruction. Instruction budget went up by 2.32%. We're just shifting the distribution because of the fact that we're having a much higher cost in the capital component. Okay, per dollar, we're three-quarters of our budget is salary and benefits. We're a people business. This is where we should be spending our money. BOCE services is up there too, also generally directed towards kids. Debt service, capital outlay, 11 cents on the dollar, and then you get into the smaller portions as we go down the list. So budget propositions. So for this year, we're looking to put out up to 5 propositions depending on how state aid pans out. The first proposition would be the expenditure budget. The second one would be the bus purchase. We're currently working on that proposition. What the plan is right now, because we're still working with NYSERDA to hopefully get funding for the electric buses, is that we're going to put in the proposition the higher of the 2 values, so that if we get the electric bus in the NYSERDA incentives, then we'll still be able to purchase those buses, but if we don't, then we're going to stick with the diesel plan. So that's the current plan for the bus proposition. With capital reserves, right now we have $9 million of the $10 million in our capital reserve that's currently in place. We are starting to have conversations about future capital work and what that might look like. We have talked about the Facility Finance and Audit Committee, and we're starting to have conversations internally as a district, and then we'll move it out to the community. But with that said, we have $9 million of $10 million saved in our capital reserve. We do anticipate that that will be fully funded by the end of the fiscal year. So we would like authorization, hopefully from the board and the public, to create another capital reserve so that we can continue doing the important work that we have to do with our facilities to not only keep our kids safe, but provide great instructional spaces for them. And then potentially the use of the capital reserve for technology. This was created a few years ago. It has $500,000 in it. We can put up to $1 million into that reserve We may need to utilize some of those reserves to balance our budget if the state funding doesn't come in the way that we're hoping to. So we'll know more about that after April 1st, hopefully, if we have an approved state budget. And the same goes for number 5, the use of the capital reserve for vehicles. We have $300,000 in that. It can be funded up to $500,000. We may need to utilize that one as well if state funding doesn't go as planned. So Board of Education elections, there's 3 seats available, 3-seat terms. There's 3 expiring seats. We'll know more about who our candidates are and who the potential incumbents are at the end of the day by Monday, April 19th. So next steps. We have a budget workshop on April 6th. We do think that that's going to be necessary. On the calendar it says if needed. Right now we do think it's going to be necessary just because there's so much uncertainty around what that state aid package will look like. We have board petitions due, budget discussion and adoption on April 20th, the budget hearing on May 4th, and then the vote on the 18th. So summary. There's still a lot of unknown regarding state aid. Therefore, our intention is to maintain our current staffing and programming, much as we did this current year, and continue with our current district goals, assuming we do get that boost in funding that we need, while acknowledging that this is a very tight budget that will likely use exhaustible reserves and fund balance. One thing I will note is that the budget proposal that I brought here today is a little under a 4% increase in budget, but tied primarily to those benefits and debt service costs. So it's a 3.98% increase with a tax increase of 2.04 per the levy calculation. Okay. So there we are. So any questions or thoughts? You can go down, please. Any questions or thoughts? Okay, thank you very much. I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, you might want me to stay.
Well, you can, as we move to the discussion of finance and facility.
Okay. So our last finance facility and audit committee met on February 22nd. We started by talking facilities with field plowing. We described the process of field plowing and explained how it was going. We shared some pictures. It went very well, and we shared how that unfolded. We talked about the BERT load plugs. These are plugs around the district that were put in through the EPC contract that are monitoring electrical usage, and we talked a little bit about that. The building condition survey gave an update, talked about the scope and schedule and how that was proceeding. And then we talked about future project planning, sharing a timeline that could potentially get us to a vote in December of 2021, so December of this year. And we'll be talking a lot more about that in the future. Finance, budget ambassadors, we talked a little bit about that process. Gave a budget update, talked about the bus proposition, talked about budget coding and accounting. We talked about bank accounts. We're reducing our bank accounts. We have a significant number of bank accounts with no real purpose. So we're just trying to whittle those down to make us a little more efficient. And then we talked about intermunicipal fuel agreements. That's something we're working on because they expired what we believe to be about 5 years ago. So we're trying to get those updated, and you'll have those to look at as a board in one of the future meetings. And that's it.
Thanks. Good meeting last week, all right?
Yeah, we did have a meeting last week. No, that's not included. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Nope, you're right.
Next, we have bid committee update.
We had a DIP meeting, and the different buildings shared where they are. Some are doing book studies. The high school's completing their equity challenge. Earlier, Florence Brass did one as well. We've had, and I'll update some of that later in my report. Talked about how much ambassadors were going, and then we're excited that several members of the DIP committee have also joined our district equity team.
Education Foundation.
The Education Foundation met virtually this month, and they talked about some fundraising ideas they have. Looking possibly into the Amazon Smiles program as a fundraising opportunity. And they talked about their next application cycle, which opens up April 1st, I believe, right after break. So looking forward to some ideas and projects that people are looking to fund for our children.
Thank you. Policy Committee update.
No? Okay. We had a policy committee. We updated. Again, we have read tonight of our non-discrimination, anti-harassment in the district. We talked about, we revisited policies that you do each year just to make sure they're still prevalent and meaningful, and we came to that conclusion as we checked on them and had some discussion about how to do a consent agenda, and then we left.
You want to go ahead and go to first reading policy?
Sure.
3429,
So
non-discrimination,
this is a required policy in the district, and has been revised in light of the various changes to federal and state non-discrimination and anti-harassment laws and regulations, including but not limited to revisions to the implementing regulations for Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972. And our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources read it and said it was good. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to move to approval of consensus agenda. Can I have a motion? Somebody? Oh, okay. Ms. Moscato, first Ms. Moscato, second Ms. Kai. Any questions? All in favor? It is unanimous. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have said motion to approve consensus agenda. So,
Sure.
So we're gonna repeat that, to make sure you get it right. Motion to approve consensus items B through I. Have a motion again, please. Ms. Moscato and Kai, say for doing it. Questions? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
We approved the agenda.
Right.
We approved the items. So just another motion.
Okay, so now we need a motion to approve each item.
Yep.
So B, we're asking for.
Don't have to do B.
Oh, okay.
The whole
Just
agenda.
the whole agenda.
Yep. We
Okay,
approved to have the agenda. Now we have to approve.
gotcha, to the actual agenda. So, okay, now I need a motion to approve the agenda. Rob, okay. We have to say time. Second was Katie. I was like, got a little surprise. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay. Now we're gonna go to action items, so.
Before we do that, Deal.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it's right in front of my face, I'm sorry, Kristen.
We have, one retirement to acknowledge tonight. Joanna retiring from the district after 15 years of service. Thank you for her service.
I'm gonna say thank you. Next, we have Assistant Superintendent for Instruction. So can I have a motion to appoint and approve the terms and conditions of employment for Troy only as Assistant Superintendent for Instruction commencing on July 1st, 2021. Motion, please. Mr. Bailey and Ms. Coffey. Any questions? All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you. Next week, can we have a settlement agreement? Very resolved that the Board of Education approves a written agreement between the Superintendent of Schools and employee A of the district executed on March 4th, 2021. Can I have a motion, please? Ms. Kai and Ms. Coffey. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous,
With one exception.
with one exception.
Extension.
Extension, I mean,
Yep.
Mr. Long. Next, we're gonna go to the Capital Reserve Fund. Motion to approve the resolution to establish a 2021 Capital Reserve Fund. All right, resolved that the Board of Education of Gates Charlotte Central School District is hereby authorized to establish a capital reserve fund pursuant to section 3651 of the Education Law, to be known as the 2021 Capital Reserve Fund, with the purpose of such fund being to finance reconstruction and improvement of school buildings and facilities, and the acquisition of furnishings, equipment, machinery, apparatus, such capital costs being of a type that would be eligible for financing under local finance law, and costs incidental thereto, the ultimate amount of such fund to be 10 million plus earnings thereon. The probate term of such fund to be 10 years, but such fund shall continue in existence until liquidated in accordance with the education law, or until the funds are exhausted, and the sources from which the funds shall be obtained for such reserve are: 1, amounts of budgetary appropriations from time to time, and 2, unappropriated fund balance made available by the Board of Education from time to time, and 3, New York State aid received and made available by the Board of Education from time to time as permitted by law. Sheesh. Can I have a motion, please? Mr. Long and Mr. Bailey, any questions? All in favor? Unanimous. Next, we have policy 3420, non-discrimination and anti-harassment in the district. Motion to approve policy 3420, non-discrimination and anti-harassment in the district. Motion, please. Mr. Moscato and Ms. and History Johnson. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous. And now we're down to superintendent comments.
Yes. So the subject on everyone's mind is where are we with bringing more students back to school? Reminding people that, as they're looking at making a decision between staying fully remote or coming back more in person after April 19th, we're still going to do the cleaning protocols that were discussed tonight during Mr. English's report that have kept us safe throughout this year. We really need families to complete the remote learning request form by noon tomorrow to allow us to start reallocating staff and preparing our buildings as soon as possible. And again, as shared last time, we are basing our plan off of the CDC guidelines recently released. New York State DOH still has not reacted to it, even though we were told 40 days ago they would have an update to their plan for schools. We're hopeful to hear something shortly, but for now we are planning on following the CDC guidelines, anticipating that New York State DOH will do that. We're still going to be fully masked on our buses and our classrooms. We're hopeful that the 3 feet apart that has been shown in some recent studies to be safe will be adopted in New York State to allow us to do this. We're planning on a 75% capacity and all students masked while on buses, and luckily it's starting to get warmer out. We'll also be able to ventilate them by having the windows open on the buses when it's 45 degrees or higher. We're going to be assigning seats in the cafeteria to allow us to continue to contact trace. It's the one area in schools where we have to make sure that we have the ability to go back and know where kids were in case something does happen. And we plan on using swab testing again if our district is in red or orange, based on the chart that I've shared with you in regards to the community transmission. So right now in Monroe County, we're at 120 per 100,000 people in our 7-day rate, which would put us in the red zone currently.
In talking with our county health officials, they think that we should be by mid-April, somewhere between the orange and yellow, which would allow us to safely bring the students back more in common together and transport them as well. And we're waiting on to get from New York State DOH where they put these numbers. This is what the CDC's recommendation is. New York State can do lower, higher, everything, but we're making a plan based on the CDC's numbers right now, because that's all we have to use. But we're very hopeful that we'll be getting there. And again, our goal is for UPK 12 to have an April 19th start if allowed. We plan on doing 4 days in person, meaning Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with Wednesday being a remote day. And we will submit our updated plans to New York State DOH as well, and we'll plan like it's going to be approved. The only thing that we can see so far that would be drawbacks to this is New York says nothing in regards to our plan, or infection rates increase dramatically, or New York State in turn does not approve our plan. But the Monroe County Superintendents in our meeting today have agreed to go forward and create these and submit them to the state, and hopefully hear from them in regards to what they can accept and what they cannot. Because we need to have their blessing in order to do this, because we cannot put our district in a liable position by suddenly going rogue and not following what New York State says we can or cannot do. But I'm very hopeful that, with the talk coming out of Albany that they want schools open, that they will make that decision shortly so that we can really prepare to bring our kids back for that last marking period and allow them to have that experience, while also for families that do choose to stay with, to have their children stay fully remote, to have that option for the end of the school year. So common thing that we're gonna ask is, well, what are you gonna do about it? Our Monroe County Superintendent's group are sending more correspondence again to New York State DOH and our governor, pestering, trying to get an answer from them about what are the new expectations. What they set out last August is no longer the good science. They need to update it, and they need to do it shortly so that we can prepare adequately to bring our kids back. Because without it, I can't imagine that our attorneys would approve of us doing another way. So we're very hopeful that's going to occur based on the science that's been followed lately at the national level. We hope our state follows shortly. And we're often asked, well, what about Monroe County's health department? Monroe County's health department can't advise us to go against the state. They need to react to what New York State does. And we work hand in hand with Monroe County's health department. They've been great, but their hands are tied until New York State DOH updates the science to meet it so that we can make these plans and open up. So we're hoping that happens shortly. I'm real proud of the efforts that our district has been doing this spring with equity challenges. The high school has done an outstanding job recently with theirs. And some takeaways from the challenges, some quotes that Mr. Petrosino was able to get for me. Just, you can't be willing to learn if you're not willing to listen. Privilege isn't being rich and having everything handed to you. We have these kids doing some real deep thoughts and reflections. There's a difference between colorblind and recognizing someone's differences and accepting them and embracing them. And when asked for some things they could do to make us a more equitable school community, some of the students answered, having conversations with my friends about how they may be disadvantaged in ways I may not be aware of. And at Gates Charlie, we have students of all different backgrounds, so we should not judge each other. Instead, we should learn about our others' cultures and struggles, and make them feel heard and included. And my personal favorite was step outside of your bubble, talk to someone new, and don't be afraid. There's some great conversations going on based on what Mr. Hamill here tonight has organized at the high school. And then we've also done it at Florence Brasser. And then our schools are doing different aspects of this all together. The conversations are happening. And it's really refreshing to see because it's necessary and it's what's going to help drive us forward. On Monday, as referenced earlier by our construction crew, we had an elite crew of people that were excited to see all the things that are being built in our district. And to say the High School Performing Arts Center is going to be mammoth is an understatement. Just stand on the stage and look out and see how big it is now. And then personally, I have a lot of issue with heights. Obviously, I'm height challenged. But we went all the way to the top of it, and it's just amazing how big it is and the things we're gonna be able to do for our kids, all the sets they're gonna have up there. It's just gonna be something that's gonna blow our community away and really put us on the map. And then to be able to go to Neil Armstrong and over to Disney and see those new wings coming together. There's gonna be such great learning spaces for the kids. And on a side note, I really liked the kindergarten class I was in because it was the first time I could reach the top shelf of the locker. It was awesome that they're gonna have, so. But a huge credit to Dr. Ball, who's led our construction team and overseeing this project since he's come in, and working with Mr. English to work closely with our construction management partners and our architects. It's really coming together, and it's just so exciting to see, you know, that we're gonna get these rooms turned over shortly, and we'll get kids in them this spring. It's just pretty amazing. Winter sports just ended, and what a great end to their shortened season. All of our teams had huge success, not just in the classroom, but on the court, lane, track, and rink. What was really something we need to take out of this pandemic is the ability to watch these games on live stream, the different contests. I've had a couple parents pull me aside and just say it was neat that my cousin in Arizona can watch that never would be able to, or a grandparent that's down in Florida. They're able to watch their grandchild play. And as a dad myself, to be able to be at a game and watch this game while I'm paying attention to another game was really a nice convenience this winter. But it was amazing to see our kids compete. Obviously with our track kids earning sectional titles, and then our boys basketball winning, and our girls doing so well, and as well as our bowling. I mean, we had some amazing accomplishments here with our wrestling and swimming as well. So just a great winter season. And a big credit has to go to Dr. Irving. They had to scramble to get these things organized, as usual. New York State waited the last second. But his team and the facilities did a great job providing a safe environment for our kids all winter. And it's weird to think that we're talking about fall sports now after winter, but it's great to see our football teams out on the turf, volleyball teams finally getting a chance to compete. It's just great that our kids are getting a chance to have some normalcy going into the spring. Next thing is a hard one. We lost a great Spartan last week in Ray Gettner. Mr. Gettner was a constant in our district. He served on various committees, attended school and district events, and was a regular public speaker at our board meetings. He truly cared about our community. Whether he was one of the first people I met when I interviewed in the district. He was one of the first people to come up and introduce himself again after I was appointed. Just a great guy who was always someone that had a good little joke and a smile and a twinkle in his eye. He loved this district and he loved his community. And he will be missed. So if we could just take a moment of silence in honor of Ray, he's someone that, you know, has really left his mark on the Spartan Nation. Thank you. Budget ambassadors. Again, thanking all our budget ambassadors for donating their time to us to share and demystify our budget development process. And a big credit to Dr. Ball and his team for making it a valuable experience for all. To break it down and show people what it really is not easy, and doing it for the first time, our team did a great job. And last but not least, our neediest families. We have free meals over break next week. Families can come to our middle school on Tuesday, March 30th and Thursday, April 1st between 11 a.m. and 12:30 to receive 2 days worth of free meals for their students. Please take advantage of that. Huge thank you to Mrs. Phillips and her team. Yet again, they're going to take care of our Spartans. So that is my report, ma'am.
Thank you. I want to go home. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Ms. Kies, Mr. Long, all in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.